Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Into the Darkroom podcast. I'm your host, Riley Honey, and this is my co-host,
Sam Yesko.
And today we're going to be interviewing...
Alex, or Worldwide Wednesday, depending on how you know me.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
So where are you from?
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Born and raised here?
City of Lancaster, yep.
Cool.
Proud to be.
Awesome. Like, have you ever moved elsewhere and then come back?
Yes. 2015, I moved to Miami. I went to school down there, finished a bachelor's degree. Lived there for a little bit, then COVID hit, and tore down the entertainment industry, and I moved back home.
Why do you think you would have stayed in Miami if COVID didn't happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about that all the time. I think moving back to Lancaster was one of my hardest decisions to make. But yeah, I think that if COVID didn't happen, there was more to the story down there that I didn't get to finish. But blessing in disguise, moving back home has helped me out tremendously, not only personally, but like with my career and what I'm really trying to do as far as making an impact in my community.
That's awesome.
And you said you went to college in Florida for your Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Yep.
Where did you go to school? What did you do for your major?
Yeah, so it wasn't in fine arts, but I did go for communications.
Okay.
So just a simple bachelor's degree that I felt that I needed. I'm not like a big school person per se, but I was the first one to graduate in my family, so I felt that was like necessary for me.
Yeah.
Not only for myself, but for my family.
Mm-hmm.
So got my bachelor's degree in communications and then started working at a radio station down there, doing events, promotion, marketing, and just getting involved with the back-end logistics of how to run things.
Mm-hmm. What would you do, like, specifically, like, at your time working at the radio station?
Yeah, so we would pretty much do promotional things. We would go out to different spaces and we would set up the tent, which I ran 7 different radio stations. The bigger company was Entercom, and then it had like a sports station, it had a top 40 station, country station, and a few other stations like alternative and things. So we would set up the tents and we would go out in the community and say, hey, we're on behalf of the station, like here's some free tickets. We would just like promote and do marketing. So that was really fun, just being able to bring in some of these new people who never knew about our station or would listen to our station and then be like, oh, putting a face to the name, and we would bring our personalities out. They would get to interact with people, and that was fun. But the other big thing that we did at the radio station was we were one of the stations that threw our own music festivals. So we had 2 big music festivals. One was called Riptide Music Festival, and another one was called Chili Cook-Off. Chili Cook-Off is country-based music festival where it was literally a chili cook-off. Everyone would make their own chili, and then there would be a winner at the end. But through that process, which is literally from 4 in the morning that we would show up, all the way until like 2 in the morning the next day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they would be cooking all throughout the day, but then you would have a bunch of country stars on the stage singing, and like everybody, it was just a great time.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so I got to learn a little bit about how events work through the radio station.
So working at a radio station, did that like spark your interest in any particular type of music?
Yeah, well, I went into the radio station thinking that, because I'm a hip-hop artist, I'm a producer, I've been since high school. So I went into the radio station thinking that was how I got my songs on the radio. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'll just work there and then I'll tell like someone on the radio to play my music. And I thought it was that easy. No, I found out.
Like a movie.
Yeah. I found out that is not how that works. There's a whole program director and you gotta like talk to him and you have to have some type of, it's just a bunch of stuff. But it was really fun because them knowing that I was a musician and an artist, songwriter, they actually had me do some of the promotional work through the morning. So like I remixed this one song by Sway Lee. I forget what the song title was, but I remixed it. They asked me to remix it, and then they played it as the morning, like, drive to work jam.
Cool.
So it's, like, little fun things like that I got to do.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool, like, resume line. Like, oh, yeah, I got to mix that up, and they put it everywhere.
Yeah. Every morning, like, it would be played, and
like,
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a big deal in the moment, I mean, it still is a big deal, but I think that, just seeing how the radio worked now, looking at it is like, okay, like it's possible, it lets other artists and creatives know that these types of things are possible.
Yeah. How do you feel like in today's society, I feel like not a lot of people listen to the radio anymore.
Yeah.
Like how like as a person who listens to music constantly, works with music, works like in the music industry, like what kind of things do you think made the radio station like kind of tumble?
Yeah, I think that I mean streaming for sure. Streaming is a huge thing that kind of overtook the way that we listen to music. With that, podcasts. I mean, we're on right now. Podcasts are much bigger than music once was, and also like quality of music has just really went down. Unfortunately, I like the accessibility of what we have right now, where we can go in a room and just record whatever we want, or be on a phone and record whatever we want. I like that. But I also know, and not a lot of artists who are using the phones to record things know that that's just a demo. Now you have to go to a recording studio and actually record it and have a quality piece, because you would be competing with the Beyonces and the Taylor Swifts and the Kanye West. Like, you would be competing with these people who have music that just sounds so good. And that was one of the things, because I had a few managers, that was one thing that she pointed out to me, is like, if you're going to be putting out music, which 30,000 songs get released every week, 30,000. So how do you even like, probably more by now, since I heard this statistic, how do you stand out, right? And it's not going to be by bad quality music.
Yeah. I'm trying to get into the industry of concert photography, and I've been like looking into just like what it is to get into music as a baseline, and the level of quality of music that I'm interested now, I've noticed like it's all old stuff. Like the stuff I really love to listen to, like old classic rock and like alternative grunge stuff, and just like the more singer-songwriter people that are really doing it from the core. Some of the people that I listen to or hear songs from, like sound bites, I'm like, you definitely recorded this on like an iPod Touch.
Yeah.
And it has its beauty, but I think Sam and I, as like fine artists, photographers in particular, we battle like a similar topic with like AI generation as what people are doing now with like quicker production of music. And if the connection is wrong, please correct me. But yeah, I don't know. That's just what you're talking about made me think of.
Yeah, I mean, you guys probably see it in real time, while I'm still, you know, I mean, at this point, I'm 30 years old, right? I mean, yeah, I still feel young, but I'm 30 years old. Yeah. I'm trying to get over that hump. Like, I'm trying to accept that. But no, y'all probably see it in real time, like what's happening in the music industry right now with amongst your friends and other musicians who are really trying to make a name for themselves. Is like, okay, how do we battle what this AI thing is becoming? But it's also a beautiful thing, right? It's like bittersweet. Don't like it because AI is taking a lot of these like ideas, in quotations, these ideas that are already ideas that really out in the world, and then culminating all them in one and spitting something out. The good side about it is that it makes the processes a lot faster and a lot easier. So if you need help thinking of ideas when it comes to songwriting or like music production, you could use those as like demos, and then you can go and put your real sauce on it, which is going to make that song feel good. And I mean, AI music is going to be AI music, but there's nothing like a human made song. Like you feel emotions through that.
And it kind of reminds me of how back in the day, like before AI, this was just kind of like a jump topic, but like back in the day before AI, Michael Jackson actually released an album and like after his death, and there was a artist on there that was impersonating his voice. So it didn't sound like him quite like the same, and people started to notice. But now with this new AI generation and be able to like mimic voices, I find it so interesting that there's some people that are like really into it and think it can be like a wonderful thing to be able to like continue making more music after a person's death. But then you also have to think about like, what would that person really think about that? Like using their talent like while they're not present.
Yeah, I don't really like what is it called, humanist. Like it has a title to it, but like albums after death, I don't enjoy them, because unless you put it in a will and say these are the songs that I want released after my death, I don't think anyone should release your music. Because as a musician myself, like it's really it's personal, you know. Like a lot of the music that we make is personal to us. So if we weren't ready to release that, there's a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe if that time had come, then I could have released that song. But please don't release anything on behalf of me. Like,
yeah, especially like a lot of artists, you know, create demos and stuff like that, and some have like a backlog of just like a whole bunch of work. And even after somebody's death, like if I was a musician myself, I wouldn't want anybody to touch that.
Let that remain in the archive.
Yeah.
yeah, that's just a money grab. At the end of the day. It's just
Yeah.
a money grab.
So we've talked a little bit about your music, but you're kind of supporting some of your own merch today for the Ripple Effect. Tell us about the Ripple Effect and how did you do that? Where did it come from?
Definitely. So I told you about the radio station job.
Yeah.
Got involved with events. Started learning how to logistically put together events, specifically music festivals. But the one thing that I noticed during me working for a big corporation was the lack of care for artists. And me being an artist myself, I'm like, dang, this is a money grab. Like, this is, I would drive, like, I drove, a couple of the Jackson 5 to the stage at one of our music festivals, and I was talking to them, just natural conversation, you know? But, like, nobody else had that level of care from what I saw, and I think that that really sparked my interest in like hosting events that cared about artists. So the Ripple Effect was born out of us throwing showcases at a music venue down there that I used to intern at, doing some marketing stuff. And my boss was like, well, you're an artist, why don't you just throw a showcase? I'm like, me? In a 1,200 person venue? Like, I don't know. He was like, just do it. I was like, all right. So I got together the first showcase and like 50 people showed up. I was like, well, this was cool. Let's try it again. And then I kept doing it. But what I noticed was I need a team. I can't handle everything. So the people who I worked at the radio station with, my team there, I was like, hey, can you guys help me out over here? Like, it would be really cool to throw our own show. So the whole team came together and was so excited about it. And we threw a great show, which brought out 500 people.
Wow.
And for us, that was a turning point. Like, oh, wait, local music, because it was all local music. We didn't book big acts. It was just so that local musicians could get on a stage and really showcase themselves. That's when we were like, let's like try and make some money off of this, because it was all for the art. It still is for the art, but like, how do we live off of this? How are we able to sustain our lifestyle off of this? So the Ripple Effect was born, and the name, the Ripple Effect, is literally what it's supposed to be. Like, once you touch our stage, call it home, because anything that happens afterwards, I hope that you look back at this specific moment and consider it the point of the Ripple Effect, like the drop that really made everything else happen for you.
That's awesome.
So we are in a little bit of a transition now, because as I moved back from Miami, because I started in Miami, as we moved back from Miami to Lancaster, we brought it back home with us. And now we're transitioning to be called Ripple Hub, which is going to be a space for creatives to be able to practice their craft, to build themselves up, to build community. And it's going to be a brick and mortar space where they have recording studio, photo studio, to have a podcast studio.
Wow.
And it's pretty much a co-working space for creatives, because a lot of the time we don't know where all of our creative friends are, right? Like, we'll pass them in the street or we'll pass by them, but like, sometimes it's hard to find creative friends. I mean, you guys are lucky enough to have PCAT, right? PCAT is a wonderful place to bring these types of people together. But outside of PCAT, if you're not a part of the PCAT community, it could get lost.
It's really hard,
So we're just trying to build up, alongside a lot of other creatives in this city, just communities that could really uplift this creative community as a whole.
So even though you are like a born, raised here in Lancaster, why choose to stay in Lancaster, especially for your company?
Yeah, I mean, it's my hometown. Like that it's as simple as that. Like, this is my city, and I seen it go from, because I went to Lancaster Catholic High School here. I graduated in 2012, and then I started owning started up a recording studio with some of my friends, and then I owned a recording studio where the old WLAM building used to be. Then it became Sugar Tank and all that kind of stuff. I used to own a studio up there. So for me, I saw the progression of how creativity has come to this city. Because when I moved back, I was so scared. I moved away mainly because there was no creative people. I couldn't find my creative community. There was no mentors to be like, hey, this is how you make money off of your creative arts. nobody was around in 2015, 2014. Like
Mhm.
at least not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I was like, please don't let it be the same thing. Like I haven't.
Yeah.
The only time I was back in Lancaster when I lived in Miami was for like little holidays to visit my family. But when I came back, I saw like the plethora of like galleries and creativity, the murals on the walls. Like I was just like blown away. Like, oh my gosh, things have changed so much. And then that got me thinking like, this is the perfect time to bring something that I was trying to build in Miami to Lancaster, because we can really have a space that vouches for creatives to get the resources they need to really open up opportunities. And that's what I'm most passionate about. Like I even run, sorry if I'm rambling, but like
No,
I even run a creative program in the middle schools and high schools right now, in school district Lancaster, and now it's expanding out to Manhattan Township High School and all this.
Wow.
So I run this creative program, and it's called the Ripple Creators Program. It's an 8-week program that is based in a recording studio, and I teach them how to use the equipment, how to build up beats, how to record music, creatively write, but also we take trips to PCAD, and we take trips to Rock Lidditz, so that they know that there's careers available for them. So there's a career exploration piece to that. And I'm hoping that program can keep building across the school district, so that, you know, in high school, I'm sure you guys know, there wasn't much other than an art class and a music class to teach you like there was a way.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need a musician from the outside or an artist from the outside to come in and really like guide you through the actual process of being that. So, rant done.
The amount
You're
of,
all good.
the amount of outreach you're doing in Lancaster is amazing.
Thank
And I grew up in Harrisburg my entire life, and I moved here for school. But as a little kid, like my parents would bring me out here for like little rinky-dink events, but there was never like anything extravagant. But as I got older, like my mom would pull me out here for like craft shows and like to go to all sorts of random stuff in Lancaster City, and I could see it growing. Like you're saying, it was growing. And being an adult now here, working for Ryan at Red Rose, like what you're doing with the Ripple and what he's doing with Red Rose, just giving those artists a place to go is so amazing. And I can't see Lancaster going anywhere but up in the art community now.
Facts.
And there's so many people like you two that are pulling in artists and trying to give us that support system. And getting ready to graduate in the spring, I know that if I want to stay in Lancaster, there's a good place for me to land here.
That's
like
beautiful.
I won't go underground immediately. Like I would in Harrisburg. Like Harrisburg's beautiful and it's working on it and it's trying, but Lancaster is so much farther in the creative world and so much more developed in that aspect than I think anywhere I've ever been.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed in talking to a lot of creatives is that there's a point where a lot of money is pretty much influxed into this creative economy here, specifically in Lancaster, and then you'll see it in schools, like tons of creative art programs, tons of support, and then all of a sudden the budget gets cut. Because the creative arts budget is no longer, creative arts isn't like important anymore all of a sudden. Like how did that happen, you know? But now with finding that how the art is used as a tool for mental health, how it's used for a tool for education, I think it's staying around for good. So, you know, people like Ryan, people like me, people like who are really doing stuff out in this community to build up the creative community, they're important, because without those people really building it up, there's nothing to have a foundation on. But the actual goal with that, right, is not just us building these things up. It's to inspire the next generation to keep building it up. You know what I mean? I want my child, who's now eight months old in 2 days, to be able to grow up in a space and consider Lancaster home, but also know that there are a lot of opportunities if she wants to go down the artist route. So it's just important that we all stick together.
And a lot of the art schools, just to top onto that, in this past year, over the summer specifically, closed down. Like UArts in Philly and DCAD, the Delaware version of PCAD, they both closed down, and we got a huge influx of students. And I feel like so many more people are understanding how big and bright Lancaster is, even though it's like a small city. Like how bright the future is for artists here, and I'm so excited to be able to see it keep growing. Even if I don't land here permanently, like coming back to see family and stuff, I'm excited to pass through and stop in and see what's changing.
Absolutely.
So excited. So, how did you grow the business? Like, what was like the stepping stone path of growing the Ripple? Like, how did you just like come up with an idea and jump like head first, or just kind of was it a tiptoe?
Yeah, so it was all based off of just wanting to create a home for artists to feel comfortable and to be able to connect with one another. The beautiful part is as we had these shows, a lot of our artists that were on stage started collaborating with each other that they never knew before, and then hit our stage and started collaborating. Like we had this one female R&B singer match up with this male rapper, and they made a whole project together, which to us was like, yes, that's the point. That's like get to know each other, like, but it was just a gradual increase of like, well, this is the mission. What can we do with this mission that will pour back into the creative community? And that's when the programming came along. That's when our idea for creating this space came along. And it's just we're taking everything step by step. I didn't go to school for business. I didn't have many people around me who knew how to like build up a business. My dad did build up his own business, but it's more in like contracting and construction. For me, being in the arts is like kind of a new realm for my family. So I'm still learning every single day. But yes, it's been a gradual step by step, like how can we make this work? Oh, this is working. Oh, this isn't working, And also, most importantly, listening to our creative community. What do you guys need? What is it? How can we help out? You know what I mean? Because like I said, Ripple is not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about our community. How can we build the community up?
It's definitely the love and passion that you have for the community that I feel like that is going to help you rise even more.
I mean, I hope so. God drives the wheel, or you know what I'm saying? Yeah. God Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah.
I pray a lot about it. So whatever happens, happens. But we know that we're just walking in good faith. Yeah.
So you include lots of music into your events, and they're mainly music centered.
Yeah.
But have you had a favorite musician that has come to one of your events, or like somebody who's blown up afterwards?
That's a great question. There's been a few people who have like landed deals when it comes to their music being on commercials. So in that way, yes. I don't think any of our artists quite yet have blown up, quote unquote.
Yeah,
quote unquote. Whatever that looks like to you, because success is like
it's
whatever you think success is.
Exactly.
But there have been a lot of great artists who continue to put out quality work to this day, and we keep supporting them, and they keep supporting us, and we just build this up.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. So we heard that you actually have an event coming up in a few weeks. Do you want to tell about that event and how people can go to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So every year, this is our 4th annual Give Back Music Festival and Conference. Give Back actually started in 2021 when I moved back here in 2020, and then we were like, let's start something to really be intentional with what we want to do. So Give Back was essentially a way to surround it around Extra Give, as you guys know, is a really big nonprofit extravaganza in the city. That's when all nonprofits come together and raise money and things like that. We wanted to be a piece of that, but only we wanted to build it up in physically bringing people out and giving items back, just like we used to host a Thanksgiving meal. And we still do over at The Mix, which is a nonprofit, but we asked our audience members to bring out canned goods, and it would be a big celebration, right? But now it's grown into, and still is growing into, a celebration of arts and culture here in Lancaster. Like that's the goal for Give Back Music Festival, to bring a bunch of artists locally from Central Pennsylvania here to be able to showcase their work and their art and have people really celebrate them. Now it's has a conference portion, which our give back portion of it is to our artists, right? So the Give Back Music Festival is to give back to our community. The conference portion is to give back to our artists and creative community to say, hey, come to this conference, listen to some of our panelists that we invited through, speak about certain topics. Last year was about how to create a business, being a creative artist. And then this year is about your mental health journey being an artist.
Oh, wow.
So, we're just trying to be intentional with the conversations that we have, because surrounded around those conversations are a bunch of resources that we throw to artists. So right now, November 16th is a Saturday in 2 weeks, I think. Came out super fast. We'll have the conference at F&M, Winter Visual Arts Center, and that's right next to the North Museum. That's totally free. If you apply for our Ripple U scholarship, the community organizations that support us have invested into our creative community to go to these things for free.
Okay.
So you'll get a music festival ticket, access to the conference, a T-shirt. I'm an artist T-shirt. You'll get a book by one of our panelists, and a couple other little things that are goodies. But if you just want to come to the music festival, they're only $25 tickets, and you get the music festival full of 8 different types of acts. I say acts because they're not just music performances, but like b-boys are going to be there, breakdancing.
Okay.
We're going to have spoken word artists. We actually have our first ever Poets Lounge in the same building.
Ooh.
So that's going to be
exciting.
sick. And then we have our vendor marketplace supporting small businesses. So it's going to be really sick, a really good time, and just putting off our culture.
It sounds amazing.
Is there like a specific like age range for people? Is it like family friendly?
Yeah, so it's all ages. This is our first year that we did all age show. We'll see how it goes. Usually it was 18 and up, just to keep the vibe. But we did an all age show because I'm working with a lot of kids in the city, and
Yeah.
I want to make sure that it's at least open to them to get the access, especially for the conference,
Mhm.
because mental health is a big topic to talk about, not just for adults but for kids too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially as like a teacher and stuff like that, and being able to teach students, I can imagine like they know the stuff that you do and they want to be involved. So
Yeah. It's been fun conversations with them, and I really want to get them involved in ways of like helping out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how can I put you at the audio board? How can I put you in a position to logistically set this up? And they'll start getting that experience. So when they come to PCAD, the new alt program that y'all got,
Yeah,
Mhm.
over
they
at
already know what's up.
Rockledge.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That program's really new. It's like in its infancy right now, but it's growing quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
I love it. I think that's so necessary. And if I knew that program, if I had that program available to me coming out of high school, I would have joined that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This fall, it's been a full year now. That Rockledge has been with us. And it's been a very successful major so far.
Incredible.
nothing but good things from
Yes.
everybody that's involved, and all of the like cohorts between Rockledge and PCAD have all but nothing but glowing recommendations
I
and
love
things to
that.
say about our
Mhm.
students and the facilities they have there and what we have here.
Yeah.
Hmm. And a lot of like our new student bodies that have been coming in have been really interested
Yeah.
in wanting to go into that program. Like some people, in the past it's been graphic design or illustration, but now Rockledge is becoming that popular
Yeah.
subject.
Yeah, you gotta think about it. Like, how many people in high school are saying, "Hey, do you want to go on tour with Beyonce?"
Yeah.
They're like, "How?"
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
But you don't realize how many people behind Beyonce it takes to actually put that show on every
Yup.
single night, if not every other night, for
Yeah.
a half a year
Yeah.
to 9 months. Like, it takes a lot. And having Rockledge here is such a gem for us within the live industry, that we need to take advantage of the opportunities that are here. And that's why I tell my students, like, tell your parents, because I know a lot of parents are like, it's hard to make it, which I want to get to this saying on my shirt, but like a lot of parents are like, oh, it's hard to make a living off of music. It's hard to make a living off of creative arts. But what they don't know is how many things have come here to Lancaster since they've been in school. So they just don't know,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
I kind of faced that when I was going into high school. I went to a career and technical high school, and I started studying art at 14. So I've been cooking on art since then.
that's fire.
Yeah, and both of my parents were like, this is not a good idea. Like, my mom works for the state of Pennsylvania in health, and my dad worked construction, and they were like, Riley, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean you're gonna like become an artist? Like, that's a hobby. It's not a profession. It's not a career. And I eventually got myself in there, and I started studying and working and being able to show them. By the time I was a senior, I was working in the graphic design industry and taking college classes as a high school senior. And they were like, dang, like, this is absolutely possible. Like, she's make it happen. And now they're completely supportive of me. I think they were just kind of like question mark in the air, like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, is this a good idea? Is she gonna be able to succeed? But I feel like I definitely am now. But that's still a big like thought process with parents. My little sister is going through the same like hurdles right now with what she wants to do, and it's like a lot of parents. It's more parents than I thought still think that way.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, for sure.
I'm just really glad, like, for my parents, they're very supportive about my artwork, because a lot of my family are artists.
That's beautiful.
And a lot of them are freelance, like they didn't really go to school or anything. I'm the first generation for my family to go to college. And
Congrats.
to be like an artist for it is like really fun. Like I love when my parents like show my work to them. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, like you don't have to do that, mom.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it like now that I'm older and stuff like that, having her do that, it makes me know that she's really passionate about me, and passionate about the work, and she's so excited to see where I go.
I love that.
Mhm.
I love that. See, there's two sides
Yeah.
in this story
exactly.
here.
And
Like-
we're both succeeding, so like it's possible.
Mhm.
Everybody out
Absolutely.
there who's listening,
It's
possible.
possible.
100%
Yeah.
possible.
What? I love that. I love that you said that. So I'm just gonna bring up, because we're talking about it, this shirt, right?
Go
This
for
shirt,
it.
the front of this shirt says "I'm an artist," right? It's based off of what we were just talking about. Through high school was some of my roughest years, because being a musician, I should say songwriter, because I don't really play that many instruments, but being a songwriter and really going in the studio and recording my music and then handing the CDs out. Back then we handed CDs out, we burned the CDs. And I handed the CDs out in high school, and mind you, I was at Lancaster Catholic High School. I'm like one of 5 Puerto Ricans that were in Lancaster Catholic High School at the time. And so I was handing out these CDs, and most of the time I would find the CDs in the trash.
Yeah.
And for me, it was such like a tear my
Gut
heart out.
wrenching. Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. So by 12th grade, by the time I graduated, I was like, I'm going to take a back seat to being the person who makes the music and like front person, and just be the producer or just be the engineer, because I still love music. My passion's for music, but I don't want to be the person on the microphone. Fast forward, and I'm like, people are like, oh, how's music coming along? Like, what are you doing? What do you do for a living or whatever? It's like, I so badly wanted to say I'm an artist, right? But I couldn't bring myself to say it. Like, I'm an artist, because there was that stigma of like, oh, here, another artist, another hip hop artist, or like, you're never going to make anything from being an artist, right? That stigma was centered around me saying I'm an artist. So I always used to say, oh, I work at the radio station, but also I kind of make some music, you know? It was always the second thing I said.
Yeah.
So for me, this T-shirt and this sweatshirt, this saying in general, I am an artist, is so important to me, because I wear it proudly. Like, I am an artist, and I walk in that every single day. I'm currently making a living off of being an artist. So that is just my mantra of like, no matter what room I walk into, I'm going to say I'm an artist. Like, that's who I am. And then I do all the other stuff on side.
Yeah. And in the last episode of the podcast, we actually had a conversation with Andrew, and Riley brought up that she's an upcoming artist. How do you feel about that title, upcoming? Because I feel like when you're an artist, like, you know you're an artist. Like, that is what you are. You're not upcoming. You, in the moment, are an artist. You're like, it doesn't matter where you are, like, level-wise, like, if people know you, if people don't know you, like, you are an artist.
Yeah, I think that conversation goes back to the idea of what we spoke about earlier. What is success? Right?
Yes.
Like, what is making it, or, you know, what is success as an artist? And maybe for her, depending on what the context was like, oh, I'm so close to, like, making it to what I think is a successful artist. But we have to get rid of the stigma of, like, artists don't have value to them. Because a lot of the times we allow others to predict what our value is, and then we just succumb to that, right? So it's like, when you go to sell a photo, when you go to sell a piece of art, whatever that looks like, or music, but I'm saying more so artists, like visual artists in this specific moment, when they go and sell a piece of art, they want $1,500 for that piece of art. But depending on the room that they're in, they might just sell it at $200.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, we kind of predict, or not predict, we kind of go off of what other people think our value is, when really we should walk in our faith of knowing who we are and what we are valued at.
Like, for me, I'm today, unfortunately, the art market is not available when this podcast comes out, but I'm selling my artwork for the first time ever. And it's in a medium that I've never sold before. It's in photography. I've sold, like, portraits and stuff of, like, charcoal drawings. But I'm selling something for the first time that is photography of my work. And it also can be really difficult, because a lot of my friends are illustrators, and I talked about them about pricing and stuff like that, and they said, oh, well, it just, like, depends on the time, like, the medium that you're using. And I'm like, I'm doing photography. And they were like, well, what do you feel about it? And I said, $200. And they're like, whoa. And I had to think to myself, I was like, well, that's how I would value it. That's how I value, like, this work. And for me, I also had to think about, well, I'm also at a college right now. Some people are not going to have, like, that much money. So I unfortunately did have to price my stuff, like, a lot lower. But just to be able to sell my work and be able to voice my opinions, like, in my work, and just to have people see my work, I did have to put my prices down, but just being able to be in the art market, I'm very, very happy, especially as a photographer. I feel like with this school, like, the photography program, like, doesn't get, like, a lot of love compared to some of our other programs, but I'm still so very happy. Like, even if I don't sell a lot today, I'm still very, very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. What has your experience been with selling your art?
I kind of have, like, a side hustle. I do, like, portraiture and family portraits on the side, like, under the table. And I've never really had a problem with people taking my pricing for, like, hourly. Like, I charge hourly, and then I charge after I clock, like, 2 hours of editing time, then I charge hourly some more. So, depending on what people want, I kind of give them an estimation at the beginning. So I'm also very just kind of matter of fact about it. Like, if this is what you want, if you want me to do it, then this is what you get. I've never, like, sat down and sold my work that I've done for other things to people that didn't give me that idea, or, like, aren't hiring me for that specific thing. So I don't know. I think Sam's experience is something that I have yet to dip my toes into, but it's going to come sooner or later. Yeah. But I think the photo department, even though we are the smallest at PCAD, we have really good resources when it comes to photographers that are currently working in the industry. Almost all of our professors have active shows going on in museums somewhere, or they're transitioning between shows. So they're really good resources for us to be able to be like, what do I do? Like, how do I price myself? When and where does this apply? What is, like, the appropriate pricing for, like, a college or, like, an art gallery or things like that? And I think we have those resources so that when it comes for that time, I'll be ready to, and I'll have those resources I need to be able to succeed in that light without feeling bad about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to break down how music works, right? And this is probably the most messed up part about selling any type of artwork, right? So music, you figure you go to the recording studio, it's about $75 an hour to record one, like, a song, or maybe even get some production done. Let's just say that it's an estimated, like, 10 hours of production, vocal recording, mixing, right?
Yeah.
So right there is $750, right? That alone, not including uploading, marketing the piece, drawing out a cover art or paying someone to do a cover art, a photo session with a photographer, getting the images right, all of that, right? All that money, I would say on the low end is like $1,500 to come up with just to release a single, right? When the bigger industry is like, oh, you need at least $100,000 to release a single. But $1,500 on the low end for musicians that don't have a deal. Then you go and sell your song for $1.29.
Yeah.
That's where I'm gonna leave it at. How are you gonna spend that much money to sell your music for $1.29 on Apple Music?
Yeah.
And not only that, the streaming is 0.001 cent per stream.
Yep, especially on Spotify. It's terrible on Spotify.
So what do? That's the question. What do you do? Now, I think artists are becoming more independent in this realm of, like, I'm releasing my music through me, right? Create a website. Sell your album through your website. Now it's completely straight to consumer, right? Now, if you want to listen to my music, you have to go on the website, but now it's inconvenience for you. So that's the unfortunate part about music is, like, how do you get around selling your music? That's why most musicians don't even really make money off of music anymore, right? Unless it's put on for royalties on, like, commercials and movies and stuff. You get paid for that. But, like, now it's your personality. Now it's your brand. where can you get brand deals? How music artists have become content creators. It's no longer you're no longer just a music artist. You're a content creator. You're a manager. You're a designer. You're the whole team until you get a team. You know what I'm saying? So it's just important to know that, especially for these companies and organizations that want these artists to do so much work, whether it's in this city or anywhere else, value yourself at what y'all think you're valued at, and don't settle for anything, because you know the time and the hard work that you put behind each piece of work that y'all have, right? So when the city or another organization or company reaches out for that piece of work, name your price and don't settle for it, because they're going to try and they don't know the value of your work, and that's another whole issue that will be a long discussion, but they don't know the value of your work.
Yeah.
So you got to value it.
Yeah.
So
I needed that.
Yeah, I think so too. It's good. We hear it all the time from professors and stuff, but like
from a different person.
From another person that we don't see every day,
yeah.
It helps. It
yeah,
like sinks
absolutely.
it in another layer, like, dang, this
Good.
is real, it's happening.
I'm glad
It's
I'm right there
gonna
with
be
you.
real.
I'm right there. I'm working it with you.
So we've heard about the Ripple and all the offshoots of Ripple and your music career. Is there any other art forms that you practice or that you're interested in practicing?
Just creatively writing, whether it's journaling, poetry, just staying active in that space, but mostly production. I really enjoy creating music to express my different moods and as an outlet in general. So music is my main base.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to go listen to some of your stuff.
Yes.
Where can we find your music?
Yes.
Please do. Yeah, you guys can find it on Spotify and Apple Music for 0.001 cent per stream. No, just playing. Now, y'all can definitely listen to it. If y'all want to buy it, y'all buy it. It's at Worldwide Wednesday on Instagram, on TikTok, all that good stuff, and on Spotify and Apple Music. Worldwide Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. Plug it.
Yes, sir.
Everybody better listen, because I'm going
Come
to.
on.
I almost will.
Get the streams up.
Yep. As soon as I leave this room,
Subscribe.
I'm listening to it.
A lot of love. Thank you, guys.
Like it, subscribe it, follow it.
All that good stuff.
So we've asked you a handful of questions, and I feel like we've had such a good conversation.
Yeah, agreed.
But do you have any questions for us?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I try to ask a couple questions along this road of like artistry. But you guys are how old and what grade are you in right now?
So we're both 21.
Yes.
21.
Riley's
I'm a senior.
Senior.
And I'm a junior.
Okay. So senior, you're coming up on graduation.
Yeah.
In May.
Yeah, get me out of here. I'm ready to be on my own 2 feet.
Let's go. You mentioned a lot about how you were getting up out of Lancaster. So where are you going?
Yeah. I don't know where I'm going.
But you want to explore different areas.
I definitely want to get out and about. I want to see the world. I want to do whatever rolls at me. I'm a very resilient person, so like.
Yeah, I can tell.
I mean, I've worked lots of little odds and end jobs. Like, I was a dog groomer for a long time, and I trained service dogs for a long time, and I worked like factory jobs. So like, I've been all over the place, service, whatever. So like, I don't know what I want to do. I definitely want to get into concert photography. Like, that's the big dream. That's like the golden big star at the top of the tree. But I can definitely see myself podcasting. Like, I've been loving podcasting. The program, I started with the podcast program last year as a junior, and how the program works is a senior is the host, but the year prior to that, they were the co-host. So they jump up as the senior graduates, and then they pick their co-host. So I was co-host last year, and then I became host this year, and I picked Sam to come and join with me. So next year, Sam will be in my shoes and be picking their next co-host.
Nice.
And the program will just continue to snowball and roll, which is awesome. And we've had the the amazing opportunity to work with Ryan over at Red Rose, and he's been giving us so many awesome people to interview.
Yeah.
And I've kind of fallen in love with it, podcasting and getting to know people. And I mean, the audio editing after the fact is definitely like, I love it, but it's my least favorite part. But I love building the podcast and researching people before I meet them and talking and just kind of like letting conversation flow. So I could definitely see myself doing this in the meantime.
I love that. Okay. So concert photography?
Yeah.
Concert photography or no?
No.
Where are you at with it?
I mainly want to go more into a fine art perspective when it comes to photography, more conceptual work, like going into like galleries and stuff like that. But if I have to work commercially, like I'm completely fine with that.
Mm.
But my big dream is to like work with other artists, work with communities, and just make fine art.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. My question back to you is, how do
Mhm.
we get you to come to Get Back Music Fest and shoot?
Just tell me when and where.
Don't lie to me now.
I'll be there.
I need you there.
I'll be there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've been working like in and out with a couple smaller bands. There's a group called the Dime Store Dolls that they perform in Lancaster a lot, just kind of hopping around bars. They're a bunch of like middle-aged women, and they're awesome.
Yeah,
they're super
That's
cool.
awesome.
So like I've been tiptoeing around. I got the opportunity to photograph Brett Cherokee over the summer in Longs Park. He writes songs for like Blake Shelton and a bunch of other big
Let's
country
go.
names.
Let's
So
go.
I've like slowly been dipping my toe into it
Yes,
and trying to
yeah.
make as many music industry friends as possible so that when the opportunity arises, my name comes up on the list and they're like, oh dang, let me think of who I know.
Yeah.
And I'm on that list.
Fine.
But yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm gonna
Absolutely.
get your contact after
Cool.
this. Beautiful. Yeah, I think that's all my question. I kind of wanted to see where your next thing was or where you guys were going because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as we said, Lancaster is a up and coming creative hub.
Yeah.
Throughout the nation, to be honest, we've been already in the New York Times talking about like we're a small Brooklyn of
Yeah.
some sort. So like, you know, we're getting a lot of notoriety when it comes to the creative arts here in Lancaster, and I hope that even if it's later in life that you guys come back, that Lancaster continues to be a home for y'all and a hub for creativity.
Absolutely. It's definitely in my my archives in my mind as like
Mhm.
ground zero.
And like
Let's
for
go.
me, I'm from Maryland.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm from Hagerstown, Maryland, which used to be. They're trying to start bringing it back up again, but they're kind of failing at it. It used to be a big art city, but it kind of failed, and then now they're in the middle of trying to rebuild it. But I personally, once I got here for PCAD, I immediately fell in love with the city.
Let's go.
So I'm very excited to hopefully stay here for a while.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question. Sorry, I thought about it when you were talking about
Mhm.
it. If y'all could name 2 to 3 things, 2 to 3 resources that you wish Lancaster had when it came to being an artist, what would they be?
I definitely think you kind of already mentioned it, but like a public photography space.
Yes.
Because PCAD, we have an awesome level of equipment and a really cool studio, but our studio setting, like, we can only do so much
Mhm.
there. And I know the PCAD's, like, in the process of trying to grow our photo program and possibly getting us a new studio eventually down the line. But I think a lot of, speaking from the photo and video department, like,
Mhm.
a studio with a sick wall is something that we're, like, all itching for.
Mhm. Like the studio that we have here is about the size of a large garage.
It
That's
was
a-
low ceilings and
Yeah.
lots of duct work, so like you
Yeah.
can only put things so high.
Yeah, so that's about the size of our lighting studio right now. But I definitely agree. Like more resources for photography. I remember you talking about going to a gallery and seeing if they have like a photography
Yeah.
kind of mention, and they were like in the middle of looking for it, but like when it comes to photography, it can be a little bit expensive. So I feel like just trying to be able to source things out and kind of come to like a good sensible source of money when it comes to photography work, I feel like it would really be beneficial for a lot of photographers here in Lancaster.
So you're saying funding?
Yeah.
Like in what ways though? Like funding to buy your work or to fund the photographer to build up?
Kind of in a sense of just like building a space. So the gallery that I was mentioning, so just a space for specific lighting, for work to be shown on walls.
Okay, gotcha.
Because a lot of work when it comes to fine art and photography kind of work, you need like very specific lighting.
And photography, since it's so 2D, it requires like a specific lighting setup to the point where like it doesn't cast too much glare.
Mm-hmm.
The images are still clear. They have to be like a certain tonality of light, like tungsten bulb, so that it doesn't cast like a warm or cool tone over the photographs.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be like archival lights so they don't deteriorate the prints. Like it's a lot of like technicality
Yeah.
beyond just the photographing and the printing. It's the display that a lot of galleries either lack or they don't have the funding to provide.
Yeah. And then it just comes down to like having like a studio space. I feel like there's a lot of fine art studio spaces here in Lancaster, but when it comes to photography, there's not a lot of lighting studios that I've seen. There's one in Harrisburg that I've seen, but
Lancaster's definitely missing out on like that rentable community photography studio space. But yeah, there's a couple students that are our friends in the program, and they both do a lot of fashion photography and a lot of studio work. And I know that they would
struggle,
eat it. They struggle to find that sort of resource in Lancaster outside of what our school provides. And our school, they're killing it. They're trying their hardest, but with the big ideas we have, the space just doesn't always hold those big ideas to like our extreme thought process.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Nah, thank you for sharing that, because as we continue to lay out what this space is going to look like that we really want, we want that type of feedback so that we can build out like some of these spaces that you guys might be able to use. So through the journey of us working with architects, and it's been like a whole thing. I would love to bring you guys in on just what that would look like.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I
That's
would-
amazing.
Yes, I would be very excited.
Yeah,
Yes.
truly, would love to do that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To end off today's interview, we would like to thank Alex for coming to the podcast
of course.
and chatting with us about everything that has to do with you and your amazing story. We appreciate your time and your busy schedule to give us a glimpse of what you've built at the Ripple Effect and just like your career in general. Thank you so much. And I'm going to close out. So bye, guys. This is Riley Honey saying bye.
Bye, this is Sam Yesko.